Whoa. Deja vu.
Don't you hate when that happens?
It's like we've been here and done this before.
Oh, I think at least 100 or so times.
Probably in a different life. Anyway, that's what we're going to be talking about today, guys. We're going to be talking about reincarnation and past lives. So stick around. Coming up on Black Lotus. Conspiracy theories, the paranormal, UFOs, aliens, and all things strange and unusual. This is Black Lotus. So, before we kick this off today, I want to give out a quick reminder to all of our viewers. We're getting more and more subscribers, and that's great.
Awesome.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. I want to remind you to like our videos, and when you subscribe, don't forget to smash that little bell so you get notifications every time we upload a new show. Also, I want to bring up that Ralph and I are planning to do a live Q&A this coming Tuesday.
Correct.
And it's going to be at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. So come on by while we're doing it, and we'll be able to see that any comments you make, and give us any questions you have. And speaking of that, in today's show, down at the bottom, leave a comment, leave a question for us. You know, we'll answer pretty much anything you ask. We'd like to keep it to the paranormal and UFOs and cryptids and that kind of stuff, but you know, we're here to answer any questions you may have, and we'll answer them live on Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah. So if you're not going to be able to make it at that time at 4:30, then drop a question so we have some to start with too. Yeah, most definitely. But anyway, let's get into this, man. I think the first thing we ought to do is talk about where reincarnation originated, and you know, the whole idea behind it, and really what it is. Well, isn't that kind of like saying what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Kind of, actually. Yeah, you're not too far off, because you know, reincarnation, I probably don't need to explain this to anybody, but reincarnation is the idea that when we die, we come back to Earth as some sort of life form. And it's generally thought to be a religious ideology. And interestingly enough, this is something I found out while I was researching this, and it surprised me I didn't know this, because I've studied a lot about religion and various religions. But evidently, almost every religion in our history has subscribed to the theory of reincarnation in some way or another. And that includes Christianity.
Yep, supposedly it was taken out of the Bible.
Yeah, it was. This is what I found. I found that it was struck from the Bible during an ecumenical council meeting of the Catholic Church in Constantinople sometime around 553 AD.
Wow.
And the council was called the Council of Nicaea, and the council members voted to strike the teachings in order to solidify church control, which makes sense. You know, I mean, because, you know, it's a little hard to have control over the masses when you're telling them that, well, you can make up for these sins in the next life, rather than you're going to be damned for all eternity.
Exactly.
You know, I mean,
well, the church was all about control anyway.
Sure, control and fear. You know, I mean, and so yeah, I mean, but here's the thing that bothered me about this when I found this out. You know, I'm an old Catholic. You know, I was raised Catholic in the Catholic religion, and as far as I recall, if you change or omit anything in the Bible, it's considered an unforgivable sin. And yet here are these church leaders. Now, Catholics, if you're out there, Christians, I'm sure you're out there too. Nothing against you. You know, believe what you want to believe, I think. You know, I mean, I'm all for that. What I'm against are church leaders and this hypocrisy. You know, that they do this, that they omit all this from the Catholic religion or from the Bible, and then tell everybody else, oh, but you can't do it.
Right.
You can't do it. Can you imagine how different Christianity would be today had they left the reincarnation bit in?
I think not only how it would affect that, I think it would affect the whole world, and especially
Absolutely.
in the U.S. But I don't know if it would be a positive way. Now, if people knew that they were going to get reincarnated, no matter what happens, you're going to have another life.
Mm-hmm.
Then how do you think a lot of the people who already are a little bad would act?
Well, we'll get into Buddhism here in a little while, but I mean, Buddhism and Hinduism both have reincarnation firmly indoctrinated into their religions. I mean, it's a big part of their religions, and you don't see people running around being bad intentionally in those religions. So I'm kind of under the opinion that if you were to take Christianity and Buddhism and put them together, put the teachings of Buddha and the teachings of Jesus together, I think you'd have an awesome religion. And I think it would be a religion filled with nothing but compassion for your fellow man. I really do, because that's what Jesus was talking about. And that's certainly what Buddha was talking about. So if you had reincarnation in Christianity, I think the world would be a better place. I really do. I don't think we would have the holy wars that we have going on.
I think the world would be a better place just without organized religion.
Oh, well, yeah, I'll hand that to you most definitely. But and again, what this is, as we were talking about, is that it's a karmic debt, basically, to correct the wrongdoings of a previous life. And possibly to learn lessons that you didn't learn in your life, And so, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of a firm believer in reincarnation. It makes sense to me, I mean, I'm not one of these guys who believes that when you die, you're just worm food. I mean, your body is, but I believe that we are. I don't know if we're spirits, but we're certainly energy, and energy doesn't live and it doesn't die. It just exists.
Hasn't science already proven that energy never
dissipates? Yeah.
It always just goes to another location.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
What would make us think we're any different since we're energy?
Yeah.
Now we might dissipate into, something different. We might become thunderclouds. Who knows?
Yeah, it could be.
But I agree with you. I think that we have a spirit or a soul or something. Because how many times do you hear the expression, boy, that person's an old soul?
Oh, sure.
And it's usually somebody who's very wise and very calm. And you picture somebody old, and not old physically, but old maturity-wise, and in the way they think and their ideology.
Mm-hmm. Well, and prior to the show, you had asked, you had brought up the question, why is it that, you had a certain amount of people on Earth and they all died, but you're getting more and more and more people on Earth. So where are their reincarnations coming from? And I mentioned to you that personally, I don't know if this is a widely held belief, but I personally think that there is a creatrix out there, and that's what we call God. But we have attributed attributes to this thing that I don't think it has anything to do with. I think its sole purpose is to create things, and one of the things it creates is souls, and so it just continues to create, regardless of how many souls are here now. But I think that that's why we have such an overpopulation today. I really do.
It's not because we like sex.
Yeah, well, that may have something to do with it. But anyway, the whole idea of reincarnation possibly originated in India with Hinduism, which is one of the oldest religions still practiced today. But then there's another theory that it could have been started by Jainism, which was a precursor. Some people think is a precursor to Hinduism. And they have some of the more extreme views on reincarnation, because they're the ones who believe that all things have a soul. Everything from, from other animals to rocks to plants to trees to
rocks,
insects. Huh? Yep. They believe that all things have a soul, and they go to such extremes that because they believe that if you take a human life, you will be reincarnated into a lower life form. And so they will wear these face masks, like breathing masks, for fear that they may inhale and accidentally ingest a microscopic life form or an insect, and thus killing it. And they believe that it could possibly be the soul of a former human being.
Wow, that would be very, very scary, especially
Weird.
when I was living in Maine. When I don't know how many bugs I've eaten.
Right.
Does that make me a cannibal?
So, and then there's the Buddhist theory, and Buddhists have incorporated reincarnation into their religion forever, but they don't necessarily believe that. They don't believe that that all things have a soul necessarily. They believe that all things should be treated with compassion, regardless of what it is, an animal. If it's a living life form, if it's a sentient being, it should be treated with compassion. But they don't necessarily believe that humans reincarnate into rocks or plants or anything like that, or other animals. They believe that humans reincarnated into humans. And so, and an example of that is today we have the 14th Dalai Lama. And he is believed to have been a reincarnation of all 13 Dalai Lamas.
Correct.
That they're all in one lineage. But that isn't necessarily so for everybody. It's just for him and there's a huge elaborate discovery ritual about this for the Dalai Lamas.
Well, one of the people I'll talk about later who actually, when we get into people who have had reincarnation experiences and some of their experiences, one of them is named James, and he says he's James the Third because he's the third James of this reincarnation.
Oh, is that right?
So yeah, it does happen that other people actually believe that also, which I find very interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. That's so that's basically in a nutshell what reincarnation is and where it came from. But again, I think it's fascinating that almost all religions have incorporated this into their theologies in one way or another, But
right.
Yeah. But anyway, you have some case examples,
right? And what I was just talking about, one of them, as well start with him, since I kind of brought him up, is James Leninger. He was 2 years old, and he was born in 1998, so it was not that long ago. This is not one of those older cases. This is one of the more fairly new ones. By the time he was 2, he knew all the names of every airplane there was. He was totally fascinated by airplanes.
Okay.
When he was about 2.5, he started having nightmares that he was in a plane and had crashed, and he had been shot down, and he was trying to escape out of it. He'd wake up and his parents would find him trying to hit out the cockpit windows. Mm-hmm. So he started talking about World War II and said he was in the Notamo Bay on that ship when before he died.
Really?
So, of course, what do? They said, let's take a trip. So they go to this area. He knew the names of the type of plane he was using at that time, which ended up being correct. Like I said, he thought he was James the Third, so he thought he was actually James Houston, who they found on the rosters of that plane and the ship. They also found out that he knew the names of just about everybody in the platoon.
Mm-hmm. So, and how old was he at this time?
2.5.
2.5 years old.
Right.
Wow.
So he knew his friend. He knew his likes and dislikes at the time. He even knew that he had 2 sisters. Now, how does this kid know all this stuff if, without any help? Yeah.
Especially at that age. Now, if he was older, you could probably discount it by saying, well, he looked into the history of this person. But then again, this guy, from what I understand, he wasn't anybody famous.
No.
But, I mean, they were able to find records on the guy,
right.
So.
And they found that he did die by fire, that he had been shot down and actually could not get out of the cockpit and ended up going down with the ship, or the plane.
The plane, yeah.
There is a book out called Soul Survivor that was released in 2009 about this.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Might be an interesting read, I think.
Yeah, I've heard about that, and that's why I've heard about this story is because of that book. Yeah. So
what I found fascinating is I watched an interview of him. 2013, he did an interview on TV, and I'm like, they showed him and they showed the picture of him, and it looks like the same guy. Does it? So I looked it up, and sure enough, they have people put pictures of them next to each other, and he looks a lot like the guy in the plane.
Well, you bring that up, and that's one of the things, we were talking about the Dalai Lama and the things that a child has to pass in order to become the next Dalai Lama or to be thought of as the reincarnation. And one of the things is the high arching eyebrows and certain marks on the body.
Right.
And so they have to match that criteria, otherwise they pass the kid on and go, well, we're going to keep searching, But so I think it's interesting that a lot of these cases, they do look like their former selves.
Right, and I've seen that in a couple of them.
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned the markings and stuff. There was Ian Stevenson, MD, and Jim Tucker, MD. They teamed together, and actually Jim Tucker ended up taking over because of Ian's passing away. But they collected and studied 2,500 cases of kids, of children, who were thought to be reincarnated.
Okay.
And one of the things they brought up, that 70% of the cases claiming to be people who were reincarnated had died of an unnatural cause, one. And two, that a lot of them all had their birthmarks and stuff in places where injuries happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting that you said that, because yes, that seems to be a thing. So they believe birthmarks they've always said that birthmarks are old injuries from past lives, but I guess that's the study shows that seems to actually correlate right.
Really, yeah.
Which I found was fascinating. And also a couple of his people have said that they felt like when they were dying, they fell through a hole or like a porthole or something.
Oh, is that right?
Which kind of like goes into the light type theory.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that in a couple of minutes too, about the whole going toward the light thing. But
yeah, that's going to be an interesting part. Another one I want to bring up is Anne Barbaro, who she is she is believed to be Anne Frank.
Okay.
Now, when she was 2, again, it started at 2 years old, which seems to be common. A lot of these kids start at about 2 years old. When they start talking, they start rehashing these memories.
Again, going back to the Dalai Lama, that's usually when they're picked, is when they're about 2 years old. So
very interesting.
I think that's probably that's because at 2 years old, that's when kids start to display their personality.
Right.
I think that's probably
who
what
they
it
are.
is. Yeah.
Well, Anne at 2 years old was telling her parents that they weren't her parents. That her name's not Barbara, it's Frank.
Oh, was that right?
Now, what's interesting is that this time, because this was I think late 50s, Anne Frank had not been translated in Sweden, and this is what's happening in Sweden.
I see.
And had not been translated yet, so they didn't know who Anne Frank was. Well, as the girl got older, they began to know who Anne Frank was, and this persistence of this child made them actually take a trip to Anne Frank's house.
Okay.
Now, when they get there, they're at their hotel, and they're going, okay, let's call a cab. And the girl goes, we don't need a cab, it's right here. And she takes her mom and dad by the hand, and through the city she's never been through before, goes through all these winding streets, and within 10 minutes is standing in front of the house of
Anne Frank house.
Where the Anne Frank house was.
Yeah. Huh.
And first thing she says is they changed the steps.
Oh, really?
She had noticed that there had been a change in the steps, and they had taken the steps down and replaced them because there was a problem with the steps.
Is that right? So you're talking about the front porch steps?
The front porch steps, correct.
Huh, wow.
So they go inside, and they're in Anne Frank's room, and the girl looks up at the wall, and she goes, oh, all my pictures. And the mom's like, what pictures? And she goes, look, and there's no pictures there. She goes, there used to be pictures there. And the curator came in and told them that, yes, there is pictures there, but they had just recently taken them down because people kept touching them. Oh. So they were having them put into glass, and were planning on putting them back up, and they were temporarily taken down.
Oh, right.
So she knew there was pictures there.
That's amazing.
And what the pictures and stuff like that. when little things like this start happening, it makes me start to believe more in reincarnation, because how could these kids know this?
It really is. It's really hard to discount a lot of this stuff, that's out there about this.
Well, another thing I want to mention real quick is it seems like 9/11 brought a lot of reincarnation.
You had mentioned that. I didn't see anything about that, but how is this?
Well, it seems like there's many cases of children who remember being in 9/11, remember being trapped. One of them that really caught my attention was Thomas Nolan. He was looking at a Curious George book and saw the Twin Towers on the cover and started freaking out. And when he was little, he said he wanted to be a fireman, or they said, "You want to be a fireman?" And he said, "No, I already am a fireman. I've always been a fireman."
Oh, really?
Okay, so he starts telling them that he was at 9/11 and that he remembers going through and checking the walls with the axe to make sure there was no fires in them, which is something a little kid wouldn't know about.
Right.
And how they do stuff like that. And he says he remembers the burning buildings, and that there was all these people and they had to jump because he couldn't help them, and that there were people waiting for the firefighters, but they couldn't get to them to help them. Now, that's awfully creepy for a kid to be talking about, because a kid's not going to know about it.
Right. Well, I mean, and even if they do, I mean, if they've heard their parents or watched a news story about it, they wouldn't know the details like this.
Well, he also knew the detail of the exact type of truck that was used.
Oh, really?
By this firefighter, which it turned out was correct.
Wow.
So, I don't know. I'm convinced that if we're not reincarnated, there's something going on. Because I don't understand. Even coached, a 2-year-old is not going to remember all these details. Not to the point of what they talk about.
Yeah.
It's like they know the things. And when I was looking at this, I found a lot of celebrities believe in reincarnation. Like Phil Collins. He believes he was a reincarnated survivor of the Alamo.
Oh, okay.
Stevie Nicks thinks she was a monk. Salvador Dali believed he was the reincarnation of his dead brother, and also John, who was on the cross. St. John.
Oh, is that right? Really?
It's like, of course, it's Salvador Dali. He's going to be the czar. And, of course, John Lennon thought he was Napoleon.
Oh, he did? I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah.
Interesting.
I wonder if he was just having people on. You know how John Lennon was.
Yeah, but you know how John Lennon was also. He was very into Buddhism for a while.
Well, no, not really. That you're thinking of George Harrison.
Oh,
yeah.
You're right.
John Lennon thought it was a bunch of hooey.
You're right.
Actually, but I think there are, like you said, I mean, there's a lot of people that are popular celebrities that believe in reincarnation, but the celebrities have never been known to downplay their weird beliefs, ever. I mean, look at Shirley MacLaine certainly. I have a lot of respect for that woman, actually, though. But I'm talking about like Tom Cruise and John Travolta with Scientology and all that. And, Tom Cruise has just gone nuts over this whole thing, But and not that I can say that people that are into Scientology are nuts. They're not. I think they've been hoodwinked by a guy who was essentially a sci-fi author and a scammer. Yeah. I mean, he was known to say that the only way to make money is to create a religion, and so that's what he did, And so his wife has come out and talked about that, So, but anyway,
do they believe in reincarnation?
No, I don't believe so. But they do believe that their soul is eternal. But I don't think that they believe that they come back.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, what else do you have?
I want to talk about the Lords of the Karma.
Let's talk about that. Yeah. So, as if reincarnation isn't odd enough, there is a theory out there. And again, this is something I just found out about. I had no idea this was even around. This idea was even around. But what it is these people believe that, how you go, people say that, people that experience near-death experiences, and they come back and describe that, you know, they've seen a tunnel and there's light at the end of the tunnel, and you get to the end of the tunnel and you see your loved ones waiting for you, you know, your old yeah you know, your old dog is sitting there waiting for you, you know, I mean, and you know, it's a very loving feeling. But these people are saying you should avoid that light at all costs, and the reason for this is because once you're in there, you get this loving feeling and you get comfortable there, and you feel this ultimate sense of being and ultimate sense of love. And what it is, it's a trap that's been set by aliens, because reincarnation evidently is a way for them to perpetuate an endless cycle of slavery to the earth.
So basically it hypnotizes you into it.
Yeah, I mean, man. So, and what they do is after you get comfortable there, then they take you aside, and these angels or these guides, and which are apparently just actually aliens, and they give you what they call a life review. And you get this 360-degree view of your entire life. And, you know, I mean, and they don't focus necessarily on the good stuff that you did or your accomplishments.
No, it's all the bad stuff.
It's all the bad stuff. And so they say what it does is it makes the soul feel guilty. But then it's a good cop, bad cop kind of thing, because then they're going to give you a plea deal. They say, but we're going to give you the opportunity to go back to Earth in a different life form and fix these wrongs, fix these sins, you know, and so that they're saying that, you know, it's an enslavement kind of thing, because really after you die, your soul can go anywhere it wants
in the free universe.
But see, we've been taught to go toward that light in literature after literature after literature after literature.
Yeah, when I was looking into this, they said that, and you're not only going back, being reincarnated into life, but you're going to have to go back with penalties as a harder life to make up for what you've done, all the wrongs you've done.
And that's actually a commonly held belief among religions who believe in karma or believe in reincarnation. But that, you know, whatever you do in this life, it's not forgiven. You have to make up for it. You have to claim personal responsibility for it. When I first learned about this Lords of Karma thing, I was kind of taken aback, and I went, oh, please, oh my God. Everything doesn't have to be an alien conspiracy, you know? But then I thought, you know, is it any different from any other religion out there that believes in some invisible guy in the sky? You know, I mean, just because I don't happen to believe in it doesn't necessarily mean that other people don't believe in it, and that it couldn't possibly be real. I mean, we don't know for sure.
It can make as much sense as anything else that's happened.
Sure, yeah, but yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I thought it was really interesting. You know,
and I've always thought, since I was little, I always thought that, without even thinking twice, that reincarnation existed. I guess I've always thought, well, I would do this differently next time. I would do this differently when I live next time again. And I automatically knew I was going to, and. The whole thing about, I always wonder, what the hell did I do in a previous life to deserve some of the BS that I have to put up with in this life? And that all just fits too well.
Yeah.
With reincarnation theories.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. I personally, like I said, I believe in reincarnation. I had a friend of mine, an old friend of mine, who swore that he died on the Titanic. And he told me stories about, where he would tell his parents details about the Titanic when he was a young kid, and his parents bought into it kind of. And so what they would do is that they would give him Titanic memorabilia stuff, or books about the Titanic. And he said he's afraid that had corrupted his mind a little bit because these books would give details. And so it would be like, what is it called? Misplaced memories. A lot of abductees, UFO abductees have this problem too, where they are thinking they're going crazy, and because they have a few memories, and then they look into it further, and then they learn the experiences of other abductees, and yeah,
so that's their story. It gets elaborated,
incorporating that into their mind. Yeah,
that makes sense.
So, but yeah.
Well, I was telling you before the show too. We were talking about this. That I think I've mentioned this on the one of our other shows again. That I had a psychic party once, and she had come out with some amazing predictions, including one that was some friends of mine. They asked, "Are you in the army or some type of military?" And they're like, "No." She goes, "I see you getting into a helicopter and like you guys are coming around a mountain or something, and there's something going on, but it's definitely military." And that weekend they went skiing, and they ended up getting their car stuck in a snowstorm in the middle of a mountain in the middle of nowhere by themselves, and the army helicopters had to come and rescue them and take them off the mountain. Now, she had no idea they were going to the mountains, and she had, none of them were in the military, and of course she couldn't know about snowstorms, so I kind of respect her. But she had told me that I was a reincarnation of Aaron Burr.
Aaron Burr, right.
Right, who killed Hamilton.
Hamilton, right. He was Jefferson's vice president in the first term, I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. I've never had memories about it or anything like that, but...
How do you feel about swords? So, but anyway, so what do you say we get out of here for the day?
Sounds good.
All right. So again, viewers, don't forget that we're going to be live on Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, and we are going to be doing a live Q&A. Drop your comments below, and ask us any questions you want. Again, we prefer questions about the show or about the paranormal or UFOs or whatever.
Our beliefs of it or whatever.
Yeah. So yeah. With that in mind, I'm also going to drop a link in the description. If you've ever had an experience with a UFO or with a ghost or with Bigfoot or whatever else, and you want to be on the show and talk about it with us, we are more than happy to bring you on. And so I'm going to drop a link there, and it's going to take you to a page at our blog where you fill out a questionnaire that consists of all of 4 questions, I think, including your name.
Name and email is 2 of them. That's hard.
Yeah. So basically, what we're asking for is we want to know what your experience was before we set up a time. But we will certainly schedule a time for you to be on the show. So definitely check that out. But anyway, until next time, keep thinking and question everything. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe and click that little bell so you can get a reminder every time we upload a new episode.